Greetings, Tubies. Welcome back to my channel on Pagan. I'm going to be reading today on this video the 13 Principles of American Witchcraft. I think there's something that all Wicca should be knowledgeable about. Even if you don't subscribe to them, I think that you should still understand each one and why they were chosen, and why these 13 principles were principles that the council of various witches in the early 70s agreed upon, if that's what you can call it. That was a tremendous task. I mean, if you can imagine these pagans getting together and having basically to try to meld all of their beliefs into one general description, or not necessarily each group changing their beliefs, but trying to find a way to define the overall group of pagans or witches, principles that they all subscribed to. So, and these 13 were the closest that they could come up with, and these were real true blue witches that were practicing various traditions and even creating traditions at the time. So you have to give a little credit to those people and the decisions that they made, the principles that they decided upon. It's not like the 10 Commandments out of the Bible, sure, but it's still something that you should be aware of, because it can help you as in being a support or a guideline to you. Something to help you walk your path. Yeah. Especially for seekers and newer witches that haven't quite defined the difference between different pagan traditions or their own personal perspectives on things. These 13 principles can truly help you put certain things into perspective if you dedicate enough time to them. And what I suggest is that you take and break this down. Maybe read one or two of the principles and think about them for a day or two, and then read the next one or two principles and think about it for a day or two, or even a week. There's no race. So how everybody learns at a different pace, whatever's best for you. I would skim over all 13 of them, and then maybe write them down in a notebook one by one or something like that. Writing things down tends to help me transfer things from short-term to long-term memory. So maybe do something like that, and then maybe meditate on one every other day, or once a week, or on the weekends, or something like that, until you feel that you've come to a deeper understanding of each one. So the first principle is listed as: we practice rites to attune ourselves with the natural rhythm of life forces marked by the phases of the moon and the seasonal quarters and cross quarters. And that basically means that all these different pagan groups of witches and druids and whatever you have, neo-pagans, contemporary pagans, modern pagans, whatever you want to call them, all of these witches agreed upon the fact that they attune themselves with basically the equinoxes and the solstices and the full moons. Number 2, we recognize that our intelligence gives us a unique responsibility towards our environment. We seek to live in harmony with nature, in ecological balance, offering fulfillment to life and consciousness within an evolutionary concept. So again, basically they are recognizing that we need to be in tune with the environment, and that we have a responsibility towards it because of our consciousness and intellectual level. Number 3, we acknowledge a depth of power far greater than that apparent to the average person. Because it is far greater than ordinary, it is sometimes called supernatural, but we see it as lying within that which is naturally potential to all. Basically, this translates to me that the power of the universe resides within each and every one of us. You can interpret it any way that you want. I'm sure that the actual council members that made these 13 had very different perspectives on some of them. So, number 4. We conceive of the creative power in the universe as manifesting through polarity, as masculine and feminine, and that this same creative power lives in all people and functions through the interaction of the masculine and feminine. We value neither above the other, knowing each to be supporting of the other. We value sex as pleasure, as the symbol and embodiment of life, and as one of the sources of energies used in magical practice and religious worship. That is pretty self-explanatory. I'm going to move on to number 5. We recognize both our worlds and both other worlds. Excuse me. We recognize both other worlds and inner or psychological worlds, sometimes known as the spiritual world, the collective unconsciousness, the inner planes, etc., the cosmic consciousness, whatever you want to call it. And we see in the interaction of these two dimensions the basis for paranormal phenomena and magical exercises. We neglect neither dimension for the other, seeing both as necessary for our fulfillment. That's pretty self-explanatory too, and pretty much how many shaman look at things, seeing that we are in one world and that there's an underworld and a above world and a middle world. We do not number 6. We do not recognize any authoritarian hierarchy, but do honor those who teach, respect those who share their greater knowledge and wisdom, and acknowledge those who have courageously given of themselves in leadership. And I really, really like this one. A lot of people might look this one over because it's kind of so small. But I really like that because that pretty much keeps the American witches from falling into the trap of organizing their religion to a point where people become powerful and corrupt. It's human nature. It'll happen if you maneuver things to the right circumstances. It would just naturally happen, So I'm glad for that one. It's one of my favorite. Number 7. We see religion, magic, and wisdom in living as being united in the way one views the world and lives within it, a worldview and a philosophy of life which we identify as witchcraft, the Wiccan way. Number 8. Calling oneself witch does not make a witch, but neither does hereditary itself or the collecting of titles, degrees, and initiations. A witch seeks to control the forces within him or herself that make life possible in order to live wisely and well without harm to others and in harmony with nature. This is one of the best ones in the entire book, if you ask me, because it pretty much defines what a witch is, and that's that. So it pretty much tells you right there, a witch or a Wiccan is somebody who is trying to live life wisely and without harming anyone and with a fine balance with nature. Number 9. We acknowledge that it is the affirmation and fulfillment of life in a continuation of evolution and development of consciousness that gives meaning to the universe we know and to our personal role within it. Number 10. Our only animosity towards Christianity or towards any other religion or philosophy of life is to the extent that its institutions have claimed to be the only way, where you're burning in hell forever in fire and brimstone, and have sought to deny freedom to others and to suppress other ways of religious practice and belief. That's self-explanatory, and I could make a whole video on that, and I probably will at some point. So on to the next one. Number 11. As American witches, we are not threatened by debates on the history of the craft, the origins of various aspects of different traditions. We are concerned with our present and our future. And this pretty much keeps us from bickering amongst each other and having a whose dick is bigger contest. Number 12. We do not accept the concept of absolute evil, nor do we worship any entity known as Satan or the devil as defined by the Christian tradition. We do not seek power through the suffering of others, nor do we accept the concept that personal benefit can only be derived by denial to another. Again, pretty self-explanatory, and would go right along with the video I would make on principle number 11. Number 13. We acknowledge that we seek within nature for that which is contributory to our health and well-being. Again, this just points towards that witches are seeking to live in a knowledgeable and wise fashion, and in a very fine balance with nature, for nature's benefit and for our own. So that is pretty much the 13 principles of American witchcraft as defined by the Council of 74. And it is true that the council only lasted for 2 years, and that these principles are not accepted by all witches or all Wiccans, and modernly probably most solitaires who basically outnumber any organized or group participating pagans in America at this point. There's many more solitaire is what I'm getting at, and most of them probably do not even take the time to learn these principles, other than maybe reading them once or twice. And that's why I'm telling you, in my opinion, we should all be aware of these, because they were chose for a reason by a group of people that we really should give great respect to if we call ourselves witch, pagan, or Wicca in America, because they paved the way for our spiritualities to be accepted by the public. So I've went over my 10-minute mark. I knew I was going to with these. I tried to rush through them a little bit, but yeah, I just wanted to throw this video up there with a little bit of input with them, and stress the importance of learning these principles and meditating on them. And I'm not telling you that you have to agree with them or abide by them. Just be aware of them and have that knowledge. You know, it can never hurt to be aware of knowledge that's floating around out there. You know, grab up as much as you can, especially about your own religion. So thanks for viewing my channel. Thanks for checking out my videos. I appreciate your comments and your likes. Until next time, many blessings to y'all. Peace.